Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about this new palette from Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Nomad Lodge palette. It's created in collaboration with the Whistler Snow Lodge, which is in British Columbia, Canada. They did host an Olympics there, so that's how a lot of people know about this place. Nomad was kind enough to send this palette to me as PR so that I can review it for you. So we are gonna do swatches, we'll do a tutorial, all that fun stuff. This palette is launching at midnight on Tuesday, January 25th. So I'm gonna be putting this video out on Monday, so that's midnight tonight if you watch the video the day that it's posted. It's going to be priced at $39 US and it has 15 shades. So let's take a look at the outer box first. This is the outer box, the carton that the palette comes in, and the front cover artwork is exactly the same as the palette, but where the box packaging differs is on the back. So on the back of the box, you can see all the shades are pictured. And there's also a little bit more detailed information. One thing I definitely want to point out is that this is marked as both cruelty-free and vegan. So all of my vegan friends, you can indulge in this. They also support a cause with everything. So for this palette, it's the Whistler Community Foundation, which is really cool. I like that a lot. Now we're looking at the actual palette itself. This is a heavy duty cardboard. It does have a magnetic closure. And like I said, there's not nearly as much information on the back of the palette as there is on the box. When you open up inside, there is a really nice big mirror in here. I love these big useful mirrors. I use them quite a lot. We have 7 true mattes, 8 shimmers, and then they're all laid out in these sort of trios. The part where it gets a little bit weird are these 2 blue columns. I feel like those aren't quite as distinct trios as the gold, green, and kind of red berry sort of columns here. But overall, it still works. There's a great variety of mattes and shimmers, and there's a great variety of light, medium, and deep shades. And each one of these shadows has a really cute little image printed into it. I've been swatching and wearing this palette for a while, so mine are already starting to get messed up. But you know me, I always love that little detail. Okay, now that you've seen the inside of the palette and got some of those details, let's take a look at some swatches of this palette. As usual, I'll be showing you finger swatches on top, brush swatches below, and I did swatch these in columns instead of rows. As I mentioned before, I think that they're sort of meant to be grouped that way, so that's how I swatched them. We're going to look at 2 different rounds of swatches, that way you can really see what these colors look like instead of jamming them all in on my arm. So let's take a look at the finger and brush swatches of this palette now. Here's the first half of the palette swatched, and I think you can really tell that that lightest blue shade Snow Bunny is not quite stacking up to the performance of the other mattes. When you look at even the light green, it's just so much more opaque and the pigmentation stands out so much more. Overall, I think the shimmers are a little bit more impressive than the mattes, but I think that the mattes in this palette are more impressive than the Haunted Europe palette. So overall, I would say performance is impressing me. Look at the brush swatches, nice and smooth. I always love to see that. Now that you've seen the Nomad Lodge palette swatched, I want to show you a quick eyeshadow tutorial using this palette to create the eye look that I'm wearing today, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I always start my eye looks with a primer. I've been using this ColourPop Party Proof primer for a while now, and honestly, the more I use it, the more I like it. Still not gonna completely replace my paint pot, but I really like it. Now I'm going to use this very cool sort of greenish brown matte shade called Gone Skiing. I like this one because it easily works well with green shades or more neutral shades, sort of picks up on the undertones of whatever you pair it with. So at first glance, it just looks like a regular old brown shade, but I think it has a lot of dynamic undertones in it. I love this bucking great shade. There are some really funny puns. I love a good makeup pun, and there are a lot of good shade name puns in here. And this shadow is so beautiful. It's really hard to find a deep, deep green like this that still looks green once it's applied to the eye. And I'm very impressed with the performance of Bucking Great. Then I used a little bit of the lighter green and the darker green mixed together to blend into that transition area, just to, bring more green to the look. I don't know who I am, but I'm a girl who loves green now. And another shade that I really, really enjoy in this palette is this one called Whistler. It brings a bright metallic pop of green to the eye. Now, this more champagne-y shade is a little bit more basic, but it's going to work well as an inner corner highlight or a brightening shade for a lot of different looks, so I'm not really mad at it. I had to use Ski Bum because it's definitely another one of my favorites, and I think I needed a little bit of blue in this look to really tie together the whole theme. Plus, I just wanted to play with the duochrome shade. I added a little bit more depth just around the outer edges of my eye look, curled my lashes, added my Wander Beauty Upgraded Lashes Mascara, and that's my finished look. I really like the balance between some more out of my comfort zone colors here, but this still feels like me. It feels like something that I could easily wear day or night, and it was just very fun to play with these different colors and textures to create this eye look. I don't have a ton of experience with the Nomad Cosmetics brand. I just picked up their Haunted Europe palette not too long ago, and I had a lot of pros and cons about that palette. Overall, I really, really loved the theme, and I felt like that palette should have been edited down and been just a little bit smaller. So I'm happy to see that this one is a slightly smaller palette. It does feel a little bit more curated. I did notice that some of these sort of supporting neutral shades felt very similar to the Haunted Europe palette. Now, in the Haunted Europe palette, I really wished that those weren't there. With this palette, I do feel like they're a little bit more necessary, especially when we have a very intensely blue and green color story. At least for me, and I think for a lot of other people, some warm neutrals and these gold, berry, orangey brown type of shades really do help to create a variety of really fun and wearable looks. I wished that those shades weren't in the Haunted Europe palette. I wish they had stuck with this sort of grayish, creepier, spookier sort of color story. And in this one, I'm really glad that they're here. The only shade that I don't like in this palette is this one called Snow Bunny. It's this really powdery blue, and it's, first of all, not really a shade that I gravitate towards anyway, but I just felt that it was the low performer quality-wise, formula-wise, compared to these other mattes, which I felt were really impressive. This one just felt a little thin, a little chalky. Now, with that being said, overall, aside from that one powder blue shade, I think that the formulation on these shadows is a lot more impressive than that Haunted Europe palette. Maybe that one suffered by comparison because I was swatching it alongside some really intense eyeshadows, but this palette overall feels more impressive formula-wise. Maybe it's just more of what I'm personally looking for. Some really opaque mattes that still remain blendable, some really bright metallic shimmers. These are the things that I'm looking for, particularly from an indie brand, particularly from a more colorful palette. At this $40-ish price point, I'm definitely expecting some more intense pigmentation, and this palette delivers that. Especially when compared to my Haunted Europe palette. That one seemed a little bit more muted, a little bit softer formula-wise, and this one is a lot bolder, and overall, at least for me and my personal preferences, this one is a lot more impressive overall. I love these two duochrome shades. This really soft white to pink sort of topper shade that's going to pair well with a lot of the other shadows in here. And then slightly more intense blue to pink shifty shimmer here called Ski Bum. This is probably one of my favorite shades in this palette. It just feels a little bit special, a little bit different from a lot of other blue shadows. Overall, formula-wise, color story curation, the theme, the packaging, this all really, really works for me. And even though I was more excited for the Haunted Europe theme, I do think that overall the curation here and the performance of the shadows is actually better than that palette. It's exciting. It makes me want to use blue, which blue is probably my least favorite eyeshadow color. But I'm definitely going to be able to get a lot of looks that are both exciting and still feel achievable for me. So I just really like this. I think it's well done. I would love to hear what you think about this Nomad palette. Are you interested? Are you passing on this one? Do you have any other favorites from the brand that you think that I need to try? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! I was supposed to film this yesterday, but I had such a bad migraine. I literally stayed in my bed all day. I don't remember the last time that it was so bad that I couldn't even, like, sit up, let alone get up and do things. The joys of being a human. Okay. Okay, focus. When I was first blending that green and brown together, I was like, oh no, this is going to be so murky looking. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, it's more like foresty. And I kind of love it. I'm glad I put that little bit of blue on there because it just makes it a little bit more fun and dynamic. I didn't want to do a blue look because I feel like everybody's going to do a blue look. So I went for the greens. Plus I'm wearing this really dark forest green sweater. Can you even tell on camera that it's actually green? So I was kind of going for the matching outfit look. Of course, as soon as I start talking, the heat starts blasting. Well then. Well then. I don't know. Okay. Is that it? Did I do it? Did I do everything? I'm sure if I forgot anything that I will figure it out once it's too late and I'm editing. I guess that's the way it goes. Anyway, thanks for watching. You are cool, beautiful, sweet, smart, and special, and I love your face. Okay, bye!